There.
Oh my God. I'm like
was,
poking around. What in the actual fuck?
I was trying everything. I even tried to read that little help link you were thinking, and I didn't see this add yourself thing. And
I didn't either.
I
I'm
was
serious.
wandering around Facebook trying to figure it out. And it was like, oh hell no, this is not working. And I was laughing. I was laughing at you making it. I was
like to Siri, like, oh, God damn it, Siri. I don't know how to answer that. That's my favorite. I was like, really?
Siri
Holy
doesn't
shit.
take abuse either, apparently.
Oh, okay. Fine. Fair enough. Fair enough. True.
She felt like swearing at her was was
Yeah.
abusive. So she just, I don't know how to answer that. That's a good one.
Exactly. That is a good one. That's awesome. Fair enough. Awesome. Oh my God. Hey, Rita.
Hi, Angela.
Of course, I'm in my car. I put a suit jacket on for you.
I know, but I like to gone rogue.
I know, exactly. I gotta always do something, right? This is for Amber Lou. This is her Amber Lou tour. She's the Korean pop star that's in my golf movie.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Her tour was called Gone Rogue, and I was like, oh, how appropriate for me.
That's exactly right.
And so I'll be wearing that shirt forever. So holy shit. So actually this is a perfect example of when what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
Because it's like literally I'm like all prepared, I'm all ready, and everything goes and then I'm like, wait, what? Surely there's Wi-Fi. No. So I'm totally jimmy rigged in my car. I've got like a wire just so I can keep my cell phone on. I've got the gas. Of course, gas right now is crazy expensive. So I'm like running the gas, get my little heater on because it was just snowing. I'm like, because I think we have to have this conversation, and this is a perfect situation in which to do it when you're like, well, fuck. Because usually you would be like, all right, well, forget it. I give up.
Yeah,
let's go to the movies.
Yeah, going to the movies after we have the conversation sounds like a great plan.
Wouldn't it be awesome?
Yeah.
Imagine. Can we go play?
Playing is always.
You and I need to have some playtime.
We need to play. We absolutely need to play because this work is hard work. Yeah.
Holy shit, it's hard work.
Yeah, it is just, it's some days devastatingly hard work. So so it's important that we have the conversations though, and then we go play. Both things got to happen.
Yes. And so I don't know where you want to start. First of all, I guess, who are you?
Who am I? My name is Rita Smith, and I have known Angela for not as long as I'd like to, so I hope this keeps going. But it's been a long time, and I met her when I was the director of the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and we have met periodically doing stuff with Lifetime. We've met periodically at the
that's right.
Yeah, we did some Lifetime stuff together. Absolutely.
That's right.
In DC.
Yep.
And then the Battered Mothers Custody Conference, and you coming out and presenting for the students at the Center on Domestic Violence graduate classes. So we've been doing things together for a while, trying to reduce the violence, support survivors, get people to support each other.
Many mutual friends too.
Yeah, we do. Good.
Like the wild ones, and those ones that are in the trenches that you're like, oh my God, God bless you.
Yeah, for continuing to do it for so long.
Oh my good Lord. I feel like Barry Goldstein, for example, needs like, I want to send him like a singing gram.
You should. He's still doing good work. I mean, I still work with him reviewing articles, for domesticshelters.org. He helps us that way. So yeah, he's
amazing.
He does really good work. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because there's things like, just note to self, I'd love to like talk about like what's really going on with human trafficking. Oh, what's really going on in family court systems. But then when you start having that discussion, it's like you want to lay in traffic.
Yeah, it's hard because that's a really a messed up system. It needs such a major overhaul. And the biggest piece, the biggest change that I think would help is if they just believed the women and children when they came to the door. If they started by believing what they were being told and worked from there, the system would work very differently. And they just don't. They come with a perception that they're being lied to from the get-go, and that will never protect families. So yeah, there's a lot to change there. But yeah, you and I basically, the last thing we worked on was the great yeah. That sort of trauma is a useful tool. But we worked on Patrick's great song, Shine Through,
I
and
love it.
and it's such a great song. And what I started thinking about, and what I wanted to talk to you about was we have to get back to that place, the place
Yes.
where no matter what happens, no matter who does something that we're not okay with or that we think is wrong, that we have to respond, but we have to let our light shine through. We can't fall into that well of rage and despair and retaliation, because that seems to be what people are doing now. And it's not helpful for a society to live in this kind of, screw you, pulling guns on people who take my parking spot.
Yeah.
That happened just like in the last day or two. Some woman pulled a gun on another woman who had a child in her car because she wanted the parking spot the woman had gotten into. We cannot live that way. That's not acceptable. So I'm just wanting to figure out how it is we get back to the shine through. Survivors are so amazingly good at that. They figure out a way to recover and build and create. You're a perfect example of that, Angela, where you just, things that happen to you did not define you for the rest of your life. And so we've got to find a way to let people shine.
And then there's new things that hit you. Like you think it's okay. You think, oh, it's all good now. And then you get there, your legs sliced out from under you. Yeah, I know. And that's also why I wanted to do that video with a pop star. Well, I mean, he's a nursing student, God bless him. And he just had his wisdom teeth out yesterday. Oh my God, he's so cute. And so it's like, if we could take a pop song that's not a typical song that's like about trauma,
Right.
just kind of switch it around. That's why I directed it with, it's like that it has the stories of domestic violence, like that there's the puppy in there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that like it shows that abusers use animals to manipulate. It's got male survivors in it, which I'm very adamant about. Like
That's
I'm
important.
like, that's the one I'm like, please let's talk about the male survivors, because it's the kids too, like the little kids that see domestic violence, that we need them to heal so they don't repeat what daddy or mommy is doing. And then the suicide, like just yesterday, no joke, yesterday in my crowd, I don't physically know this person, but I'm 1 degree away from him, she committed suicide.
Yeah.
And domestic violence and child sexual abuse.
Yeah,
and it's
mental health is really taken a downturn during the pandemic because of the isolation. So domestic violence has increased, but mental health crisis has also increased. And I have friends who are therapists who are just slammed for requests for help because people are struggling, really struggling with the separation and the isolation, and then I think just the constant glorification of violence now. It's like people are being bullies, and they're being held up as examples, and they're people are just saying what they think and what they feel to each other. And yeah, I mean, just it's really hard to watch. I mean, I've done this work for 40 years, Angela, and it worries me that we're in a place where people find it so easy to excuse abuse, and to actually glorify it and hold it up. We cannot live in that place. We can't live safely in that place in a community.
Well, I could go into a whole diatribe about what we're eating too.
Well,
which adds Just FYI, it just
Yeah.
adds to inflammation of the brain, which adds to anger and quick like anger responses where you're not actually thinking coherently because of what you're eating. But hey, that's a whole other
That's a
that's a
whole other,
podcast.
that's right.
It's like we have like we're all getting fucked, right? It's like there's no sex ed in this country. We all get fucked. And then abused. And so nobody's like healing from that. And then we're not healthy. And it's like that it's a recipe for actual disaster, which
Yeah.
is what's happening. And also like the anger on both sides. It's like both sides. I had a joke. I was like, oh, look, but wait, hold on. I've got both my pins. And like, oh shit, where are they? It was so funny. I was like gonna show you, and God dang, where is it? Oh, I had a red pen and a blue pen. It was funny.
Well,
Lost
just
the moment.
verbalize it. Verbalize it.
I had
We
a
can see it.
I had a red pen and a blue pen, because like I have people that I love, like family members and dear friends on both sides that are so angry at each other. And if you actually just wrote down what they said, right? They said the exact same thing.
Just in a different frame. Yeah.
Just like literally, I'm like, stop for just a second. Like there's no color here. There is no color here. Because first of all, if you go way up the chain, as you know, in human trafficking and the real stuff that's happening, there is no color. There's no party line.
Right.
There's no.
Yeah. People, a lot of people do bad things from whether they're rich or poor, whether they vote Democrat or Republican, whether they're Christian or not. People make bad choices and hurt other people because they can and because they're not held accountable for the most part. And that's, for me, that I'm just trying for us to get back to some place of accountability and some sense of respect for self and others. That's
So you being in this world for so long as an advocate yourself, what do you do to not lose your mind?
well, I speak out when I can. I try to give people a different framework to think about this stuff because I see things that are wrong. I see things that are being done that aren't okay. I've gone to funerals of women who were murdered. I know that. I know what the end result can be. But what I also know is that there are thousands and thousands, if not millions, of people who have been harmed, who have been abused, who have been discounted, and they have been able to walk through that with support. So it's about building community and about being able to connect with that community in a really authentic way. And that's we're just not doing that now. We're not doing that. We're doing that from a place of entitlement as opposed to a place of authentic caring for other people. I want people to be able to achieve as much as they can achieve. Like whatever, I don't want them to be limited by something I think or say about them. I want them to be able to live fully to what they want to be. And if we treat each other with that kind of support and respect, we're going to have a much, much better society. We're going to accomplish a lot more. And we're not going to be like, chewing nails every time we walk past somebody that we think, thinks differently than we do. But all that's been kind of amplified over the last couple of years. And we just need to tone that down because that's not help. It's not helpful. It doesn't help anybody.
So how can we tone it down and be examples? I mean, honestly, like as you know, I've had Survivor Manual forever, since like 2004,
right,
with content on it. And so I was thinking like, and like it's like you work so hard on something like that, and you're doing it as a gift, and then you're like, I gotta go work. And so it just it just sits there. And I'm like, lately I've gotten and it also happened from the stuff I've been doing in my movies and stuff. I've gotten a lot of people showing up like saying, hey, that's a really good idea, I'll help with that. And I was like, this is the time to do that, like to at least it's a space, because I did see that the reason Allie and I started that in the first place was we saw that as I was traveling, that the nonprofits, not that they're battling against each other, but they can't, there's not a space for them to share because they all need the same money. So that's why we created Survivor Manual as a non-competitive place.
Mhm.
Like the only rule is no politics. That's it. And no triggering. Like we don't need to hear your whole story of like the details. Cause first of all, perps get on there and they're
Yep, learn things.
read that shit. Yeah. And so it's like, don't do that. Like as long as it's healing and awareness and like everything from crystal work. This awesome lady in Singapore just became an author on there that does this amazing like mediums and seers and like working with your shadow self. And it's like, that's awesome. So like all of that stuff on there, including like all the nonprofits events, like share your events on there. And another outlet to get, you know, numbers. Everybody's concerned like, what are your followers? How many followers do you have? And I'm like, oh God. So that's something I can do, you know what I mean? Start adding more people to Survivor Manual and letting that come alive again. It's not that it's dead, it's just, it's there. And it's like, it's been there forever. Allie and I, our podcast has a lot of listeners, 101 Ways to Heal That shit.
Mhm.
And we paused because we opened a recording studio during a global pandemic because that's what you do with your time. I don't know what you're doing. Insane, but hey, it's working.
It's
And then I got
working.
to do this video with Patrick. So it's like, and then, well, you know me, every single thing I do is going to have some kind of healing aspect to it, or like an escape route. I look at it
Right.
like escape routes, like, you know, and what I'm seeing with shine through is people who don't know domestic violence and don't know sexual abuse at all, didn't realize it was so rampant, are contacting us like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, holy cow, I did not have any idea. And I was like, you know what? That's why we did.
That's
So it's
exactly
working.
why.
It's
Mhm.
working. So it's like, it's a pop song. You weren't expecting it. You listen to his other song, Home, which is really great. And you like fall in love with him. And then you go see his other movie. And you're like, wait a second. My aunt was beaten too. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it was, you know, like, you're like, sorry, sorry for the truth. So that's something like that like, because I always look at like what can I do, what can you do, so that we can be examples of like, look, other people can start doing. So making content, providing a space for people to share content that's healthy, not yelling at each other,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I have that check. And then you and I doing this, I think I need to do one with Wendy Murphy.
Yeah,
That'll
there
be
you go. That would be a great conversation. Absolutely.
hey Wendy. You know, I was thinking about Wendy and wine. Like what if I just got on with Wendy and just had some wine and let's see what happens.
There you go. There you go.
And
Brilliant
so
things
that
will happen.
yeah, and then you know, us talking about like what we actually do. Like you and I. Because I honestly have, I mean, do you remember when we tried to save the girl? Because I went down that road too, and actually, like,
Yeah.
I tried to legit save a girl, and she was
Right.
being raped by her dad and all his friends, and the whole nightmare. And we had her; she flew to my house, and we tried to get her a safe house with Bikers Against Child Abuse. That was one of the most shocking and mortifying and depressing experiences of my life.
Mhm.
And that makes you kind of want to stop.
Right. Well, not
And I did
everybody's,
for a while.
yeah, not everybody's cut out to do the actual crisis intervention work. It is really hard. I did it for about 10 years, worked in a shelter. And it is hard work.
Yeah.
Why advocates who work in shelters and rape crisis centers are just, they're gold. Man, they are gold. And we need to treat them with respect because it is really hard work. So I think, I think you have to find where your space is, like what are you best at? And you're best at telling stories and making people laugh, Angela. You're
Yeah.
best at creating that escape route where people can find a way to release the valve for a minute so they can keep moving.
True.
And that's, that's a great that's a great gift that you give us. So, be in the place that makes sense to you and your mental health, because, there's way too much work to do for you to get into the weeds in a place where it's doing you more harm than it is other people good.
Exactly. That's what I learned. And so that's why I'm like, actually December 12th, I'm starting these courses again. Because I used to travel all the time. Like in April, I would have 27 speaking engagements.
Right.
But now with, the world the way it is, that's not likely. It's like in person yet. But so I'm doing 20 on the December 12th, I'm doing the workshop, the sort of trauma. It's specifically for trauma workers and trauma informed care, to give them like some tools that are funny. Like you said, I mean, everything I do is pretty funny,
Right.
and that you'll remember it. You will remember it when you're faced with the trauma and you're like, what'd she say? Oh yeah, I do that thing. Because when we tried to save that girl, just to like circle back to that, because I mean, I know a lot of people have that same desire. I mean, my hashtag, I mean, not hashtag, my social is Angela Shelton 007, because it's like the James Bond. I'm a James Bond that shit. And it's like, I tried to legit James Bond that shit and save a girl. And her perp literally found out and showed up at my house. And I'm telling you, never in my life have I actually looked straight at the devil. Like I looked at the devil, and it was like, ugh, it was like all over my body, just like almost like freeze, like you wonder what you're gonna do. And it's like this, like, I can't hardly almost breathe. And that guy didn't have a hair out of place on him. And he'd flown in from Chicago, found my house because she led him there, because she was pretty programmed. I mean, that was just so terrifying, so terrifying. That guy flew. That means he flew. He would have had to have gone to a hotel like a fucking psychopath and ironed and starched everything. Like literally, I'm not even joking. He had no wrinkle on him, not a hair out of place, and straight up a demon, devil person. Like I just was like, I've never experienced anything like that. And then knew where I lived now. I'm like, holy cow. And it was like, he just did, I don't know what he did. I don't know whether it was a sound or a signal or whatever he did, but she went whoop, and just walked right out to him. And the cops are all there and they watched the whole thing. And I'm like, and they're like, you can't do anything. Actually, I could have gotten in trouble for kidnapping.
Right.
Which is like, I mean, holy shit. So that, just to give people like a side note of like, I tried to do that. And then I realized, like, first of all, he could kill me.
Exactly.
And then I could die. And then I'm like, and I'm not useful to anyone. And I'm like, shit. And I took some time off. I actually, that made me pretty freaking depressed, to be honest, like, and scared, until I had, it took me a while to be like, yo, motherfucker, how can I address this and shine my light without being just completely overwhelmed? And then I just found out, you need to meet Kamala Lopez. Do you know her?
I don't.
She did. Oh, she's great. You'll love each other. This is perfect. Like, it's like a whole little, as we build on the community. She did the documentary about the ERA. She's been working closely with Wendy Murphy to try to get the ERA passed. That's not passed. Did you know that we're not equal under the law? What?
Well, we do have all the states we need now. We just need the Senate to extend this arbitrary deadline that was created to keep it from passing back in the day.
Yeah,
so
and was it the national group of women or whatever it is, are the ones that are trying to have it not happen? That stuff like that just makes me like, wait, what?
Oh, that was Phyllis Schlafly's goal from the beginning. Yeah.
And then you're like, where are you getting your funding? Who's putting that in your mouth? And like, what in the hell? Are you high? Like, are you high right now? So that stuff seems daunting to me. But Kamala, I was on the phone with her forever. She's awesome. And she just introduced me to some information that I did not know. I mean, I know too much about human trafficking, But I did not know. I'm gonna bring up something really disturbing and awful, specifically to talk about how do we shine our light. But I did not realize that the human trafficking is actually a product line, because once they're used up, they kill them, and there are these huge freezers under these within these bunkers of the organs. And if you think about it, you're like, oh, well, that kind of makes total sense that you've created a product line. No wonder you're not doing anything about it, because you're making so much money. And who cares where these kids are? Who cares where these women are that are being abducted? They're going to get killed. And then, you know, rich guy or rich woman gets their freaking lung or their kidney. I'm like, that was another one of my, I need to lie on the floor and just like, what do you do with that? So, I mean, seriously, what the fuck do you do? I mean, you literally, like, human trafficking is a product line. I'm like, when I just can't. So I had to lay on the floor and just like have a little come to Jesus moment. I'm just like, okay. It's kind of like when I saw the devil that day. And I'm like, so what I can do along with the shine is make things like Shine Your Light video.
Right.
And also I have, which I think you're going to love it. I did a 12-minute, and the reason I did it is because it takes 10 minutes for something to like get into your brain. So I do a 12-minute dance song, like a straight up like club dance that you could have in your spin class, you could have in your workout, you could have in retreats. And it is a house dance music, and it is the sort of trauma process. I take you through the whole thing.
Oh, nice.
Including like breathing techniques, but it's done with it's spoken word. It's kind of like me rapping. I'm not really rapping, but I'm like,
Dancing,
and it's
dancing into survivorship. Yep.
Exactly. And then at the end, I was like, well, and my producer who's doing it, Janet Oots, she had me basically do my speaking engagement essentially. And then at the end, I have a whole call to action, including for the perps. I say, like, to all the traffickers and the abusers and the rapists, and you too can find healing. Or here's a thought. There are more of us than there are of you.
Way more.
And we know who you are. And we are on the island, and we're in the car, and we're in your private yacht, and we know who the fuck you are. So you could either like heal and end this, or game over. And I have a whole little like video game that I'm making to go with it. It's going to take me forever, but I'm going to release it April 29th. So I'm giving myself some time.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I'm going to do. And I figured, again, kind of like the pop song, we can reach. I mean, I was going to give it to spin classes, give it to women retreats, give it to DJs around the world, and just say, like, here, gift for your email address. I'll take your email address.
Okay, one little caveat. I know now how to find you.
Exactly. Email, and then or like, follow me on social. You can have a free song. Oh God. Yeah. But so that was a way. I was like, because it's uplifting. It's uplifting and it's energetic. It's not depressing at all. It's more like, it's one of those, because I personally needed it, especially with like what happened with just in life. I've gone through my own like hell, including seeing the freaking devil. And I want those songs. I want that song.
Right.
Because I can go pull at a national park somewhere and go cry and like scream and yell at Siri, and she'll be like, I don't know how to answer that. and then I listen to this song, and it puts me in like, I'm like, okay. Yep, I can feel can feel my wings now. I can feel it now. Okay, I'm good.
Body's starting to move. Yep.
Yeah, yep. I'm good. Because otherwise I've seen like many times, I mean, I've seen these conferences. You and I have been to the Battered Women's Conference that I just got the email about the new one coming up. And I was like, oh God. And so I'm like, that's something that I can do, that's fun, energetic, funny, but also, powerful. Cause I'm like, hey, come on. And then I also, as far as, being an advocate and like trying to stay strong in the face of all this shit. Shocking, I know you're going to be so shocked by this, but I kind of hide. I put everything, I work on other people's stuff more than my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I have so much content and so many interviews like this that I have it on my computer and I just haven't. And there's that, it's because it's that little voice of like, well, nobody really cares. You
Well,
know,
that would not be accurate.
I realize that, but that's the
Yeah.
whole thing. I was like, as
Yeah.
I tell some other people, like, hey, no, you should share more. I need,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I need to. I'm talking to myself.
Yes.
So that's why I think it's important for us to talk and stay in communication and just be like, hey, all right, are you doing it?
Mhm.
You know, I talked to a survivor yesterday who's again Rachel, which is one of these like advocates, like hammering the toe of the beast every day. And we made an agreement. She's gonna go horseback riding.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like go and go. You know,
Yes.
the trauma is not going anywhere.
No, and it's not, we can't, we have our own trauma. All of us have some form of trauma. And I think that was another thing that Shine Through was trying to show, is that a lot of people carry trauma, and we can help each other find our light again. And so it's really important for us not to take on other people's trauma too. We can listen, but then we help them find a way to release that trauma in a way that's healthy, and that gets them back on track. And so that's the goal, I think, of what you were trying to accomplish there with Patrick, and what his song was about, was that everybody has pain, and we all together in our own little train car can help
Yeah,
each other get
our
to the
little
place
train
we
car.
want to be.
So yeah, what's an idea we can do with that? I love that you're an Easter egg in that video. I love it so much. And of course, the real Andy and real George from my boxing movie are Easter eggs in there too.
Yeah, exactly.
I love
Exactly.
it. So yeah, what can we do with that song that's like a little, it's a trick. I love it when you trick them. You're like, oh, whoops, didn't mean to change your whole family. Don't invite me over for Thanksgiving. You'll know, you know what happens. Yeah, what you had some ideas, like what can we yeah. I mean, people can, I mean, we have the song, we have him. Like people could use it. I mean, obviously domestic shelters is using it. I love them.
Mhm.
They're great. I love that they're men and women too.
Right.
And
Well, I was
other
thinking,
organizations like child advocacy centers, you know, like
yeah, so I think, people do their events like October, April, I mean, that's generally when sexual assault and domestic violence try to focus community ed, but you can take any like teen dating violence awareness, for instance, in February. If local organizations wanted to have a conversation with Patrick about why he did the song, and what it did for him, and what he hopes it can do for others, and then they have conversations with people that they've worked with in their community about why it's important for us all to help each other shine our light through. That I think, that becomes a really unique opportunity for programs and advocates to kind of do a different education awareness event that their community might be more invested in watching. It's a great song, and it's interesting to listen to people who have creative talent about what brought them to that place and what they're hoping it can do for others. So I hope that anybody who's going to be watching this contacts you and says, how do I get Patrick to do something
that's
with
true.
my community, because it's
Yes, and come and speak at like the nurse conferences and whatnot. Do you know Susan
absolutely.
Chasson? Susan Chasson at the Forensic Nurses.
I know, the Association of Forensic Nurses, we work with them at domesticshelters.org. We have a partnership with them. And so we do webinars, with them. So yeah, I'm definitely
And
aware. I don't know Susan specifically, though. I know
she's
Diane, but
awesome. Like all of us, like honestly, we need a little retreat.
yes, we do.
You know, could you imagine? It would be so fun. I'd be like, don't talk trauma. Yeah, right. Cut to like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something else.
And then we go horseback riding, or we go for a hike,
Yes.
or we, you can talk trauma, but then you got to go do something fun. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Well, I want to have like a little dance retreat, like,
There you go.
and have that
I'm in.
song.
I'm in.
Yes, please. Yeah, I was just talking when I talked to Rachel yesterday. I was saying how I just went horseback riding in Nashville, and it was a perfect example of what we don't do for ourselves as trauma care workers. Is like I was meeting an older songwriter and his wife, and they for a bunch of his songs to see how we could help him at the studio, and they had a horse farm. It's like 300 something acres and 40 horses. They're gorgeous. And I was like, wow, what a life. And they're like, oh, well, people cancel all the time. There's just somebody was going to come trail riding and they canceled. So there's 2 horses that are saddled up, and the whatever you call the guide is here, and you have to go with the guide, and she's here, and she'll love it. It's like her day, essentially a day off. And I almost didn't do it, because I was like, well, I have a 5 o'clock, and I started to do the, math in my head. Could I do it and then have time to go back? And literally, I was like, Angela, shut the fuck up. Say yes.
Yes, like, get on that big old animal.
Get on that. And I literally was like, can I wear it in this outfit? And they're like, mm. And so I literally got on this horse, and I went on this. It was like a 2.5 hour, beautiful horse ride through forests, and then there was these big fields, these huge, it was 300 acres of these green fields that I was like, can we run? And she's like, oh yeah, if you know how to gallop, you can. And so we literally galloped across these green, beautiful, ridiculously, it was like dumb beautiful. It's like Montana.
Yeah.
So you're like,
yeah.
That's just stupid beautiful. you know what I mean? You know exactly what I mean. And it was like the fall colors, and I had this like huge smile on my face, like riding on this horse that apparently we got along. It was awesome. And what a gift. What a gift. No phone, can't use your phone when
That's
you're on
right.
a horse.
No, it's not safe.
and 2.5 hours. It was so great and such a gift. And I thought, wow, thank you so much for taking the time. I just needed that. Like, I just released this song. We just released it and Shine Through. And I was telling the guide, and she's like, oh, what's the song? And I was like, oh, and I wanted to highlight domestic violence stories. Hey, guess what? The guide escaped 19 years from being beaten with her kids, and her kids were sexually abused, and she escaped, and now she's a guide. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
It's everywhere.
Oh my God. I'm like, all the more reason to get on that horse.
Absolutely.
Or go date, because it's like, well, there's the devil right there. There it is again. And so that was a super, super high, like awesome gift. And then holy fuck, so. Yeah. And then little did she know, she just guided Angela Shelton around. And she went to my website and was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, obviously. Needed a break. Thank you very much.
Too funny.
Oh my God. Yeah, and I'm going to stir up the pot. Me stirring up trouble. My next thing I'm going to do, because I don't see anybody else in the trauma world doing it. So I'm like, pick me, is talking about healthy sex.
Yeah. I actually did a in the first shelter I worked in, I did a series on healthy sexual relations, and it was the only group I ever ran in a shelter where the women came to get me. They like, usually I had to round them up if we were talking about other kind of things,
Oh, they're like,
it's like, it's Rita, it's seven, Rita. And I was like, Okay. I mean,
That's
we
awesome.
had such a great time talking about that. And they even asked me to come over to a longer term residence place for women and children because, the people who, qualified for subsidized housing. And they asked me to do a course for their residents. And so it's something we don't do well. We don't talk about what's healthy and what's not, and what we can do and what's okay. And it doesn't make us a whore, and all of that stuff. It just, all the ways that sex has been demonized for women and
Oh yeah.
glorified for men, and we've lived in that space for centuries, and it's not healthy. So you go, girl.
And speaking of, you said, you hit the nail on the head, is they don't do it well.
Right.
Like there's so many people that you're not fucking well, people.
Yeah.
Let me show you some. Let me show you a few things. At least if you do it well. Like if you do it well, you're not going to argue so much.
Newsflash, our bodies are different. What you like doesn't necessarily mean I'm not enjoying. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Hey. And also, if you have great, amazing lovemaking, you're not going to fight over bills as much. It helps. It helps all around. And I get the guys, like, I'm like, you guys need more blowjobs. And they're like, did you sign me up? Sign me up. I'm like, see, I got your attention.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some deeper things. Oh, I'm such a trickster. Sorry.
Yep. You round them up, girl. You round them up.
So that's what I'm working on. And also that addresses my own stuff that I openly share, because I mean my life is my teaching, right? Is like when I'm almost 50. And so it's like looking at your body and changes. And I come from the fashion world, and like I've already been brainwashed that I'm ginormous and ugly. You know what I mean? Which I get, like that's brainwashing. But I mean, I know that voice of like the first flaw, and then and then you're suddenly not worthy of anything.
Right. You're not valuable anymore. Right.
Well, and coming from child sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And then going into the fashion world is like, wow, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it just reinforces everything you learned bad, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, all those models, like newsflash to the fellas, the pretty girls and the models are the ones with the low self-esteem. Usually, because it's like you've been an object, and I saw that so many times living in Paris and stuff, and I saved girls from being roofied. Like literally, and that's so funny. Like ever since I was a little kid, I've been the 007. Right. I've been the one, I will kick your ass. Like literally, I've stood out. I've been like, God, I was like 11 years old standing in front of this guy's house that I knew he was raping his sister. And I called him out in front of the whole neighborhood. Like it's like backing up, that I was in a position where I could run. I'm like, you motherfucker, this is me. When I'm 10. But for myself, I'm like, peep, 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 peep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm learning like, okay, well, if I openly share the body issues, body trauma, then it's going to help. Because it's like you're not floating by yourself all alone in the universe. Like if you have a problem, pretty much other people are going to have the same problem.
Yep. Yeah, and you speak in ways that people may not normally speak, but they understand. You know what I mean? It's like they won't say it themselves, but they like totally understand what you're talking about and totally understand the energy behind it. And that's what helps so many people, is that sometimes they can't use their voice in that way, but hearing you say it allows them to at least internalize it some to advocate on their own behalf. So that's an important thing for you to remember. It's not.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'd certainly get in trouble, on my evaluation sheets.
Yes. 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 Yes.
She cursed.
The 14 times she said a word I'm offended by, rather than all the ways that you taught them to heal. Yes. Yes. So that's why that's why we have to focus on shining our light through. Focus on the things that make us better, make us stronger, make us more community together, not the little things that make us different.
Yeah, that's happening at our recording studio too. And it's the round room. And like now it's like, and now nonprofits are coming in like domestic shelters, and they are getting projects and products, right? That actually help the mission.
Right.
So that's really like, that for me is, I feel like I've done a good thing,
You
because
have?
it's not just about like, oh, I'm gonna put out a song just because, you know, it's a song trying to make money. Like, we want to shine light in the
Right.
world. Like
And
that was so
amplify voices of people trying to help others shine their light. Yeah, it's
100%.
the more we partner. You know, when you were talking early on about programs not feeling like they're going after the same money,
Yep.
that is not my perspective. There's more than enough money. We just have to get it directed to the right things. So rather than 3 people who have way too much money trying to burn it up literally in rocket fuel, the amount of money that those 3 men could do to help improve the lives of victims of violence would be phenomenal, and would live long past that 120-minute ride, right? So for me, it's like finding people to direct their money in a way that helps everybody. And then we're all in a better place. We're all in a better place if we all work on shining our light, as opposed to hoarding the resources.
True. Hey, if you ever need me, I'm really good at that. I've done like raising money in crowds. I can do
Yeah.
that real well.
Yeah.
I've raised $1 million in 10 minutes 3 times.
Woo, girl. Yeah.
Not for myself.
I know.
I was like,
I know.
shit. Where's my cut? I was like, damn, I'm good at that.
Yeah. Well, you might want to think about that strategy next time. Yeah. a little bit of the benefit goes to you, should be part of the process.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's where, I mean, what I can do for myself is, but it's also, I don't look at it like that. I look at it more like it's my offering, because at the core, if I tell the truth, I'm really a preacher. I mean, let's face it, that's what I'm doing.
Yep.
I am a preacher. I just turned the pulpit upside down. And, now I'm going to be talking about sexy stuff. And it's like, well, let's talk about Mary Magdalene washing them feet, motherfuckers.
It's a different kind of faith. It's a faith in yourself, a faith in yourself as being a person that God lives in you as you. So it's like having faith in you,
100%.
living up to the value that you have as a human being. And so it's still faith. It's just faith in, and you're using that higher power in a way that makes life better for everybody.
Well, not everybody, but
Well,
you gotta know your audience. I've got the haters. How dare you?
Yeah, you and I both have people who don't agree with us or our strategies, but
I'm like, well, sorry, I'm a tool in your toolbox of healing. But the reason I mentioned like church and preaching, like is I'm offering like what I'm offering now is I'm finally like looking through all my own stuff, because I've been working on movies in the studio, and I helped Patrick and I shot that video, and it's like, and now I'm home. I'm just like, I live in 2 states and in my car on the road. It's just the way I'm always on a road trip. But what can I offer like that I have already? So that's what I'm looking through, all my stuff and all my friends like you. I'm like, we can do so much sitting right here in my car with no power on.
Right.
Like I have no power. and I believe that the conversation we're having can easily help many people. So I'm like, we should do that and stop hiding.
Right.
And I'm like, I say that to other people all the time. Like, show yourself, shine your light. And I'm like,
mirror.
Yeah, because it's like my social media, like you saw me on the road for years. I'm speaking to like 1,200 people at a time, and I just didn't do the whole social media thing.
Right.
You know, and then now, like, if you talk to like certain people in Hollywood, they're like, well, what are your numbers? We can't talk to you. It depends on what your numbers are. I'm like, oh, fuck me. Well, oh, sorry. Find me on Tinder. Just kidding. Not really. I broke it. By the way, I broke Tinder, Rita.
That was probably a good thing.
Oh God. No, no, I put out a crazy profile about like healing and having a healed heart. It was like my little profile. And I got 9,999 plus, and that's as far as it goes. And now who knows what it's at now? Like, who knows? But it won't work. The app, like it's like jammed. It's like it's like. So I switched it up, and I just left it with like, okay, you know, I'm glad you like my message. You'll have to find me. Be smart, because I was doing it to interview men for Stirring Up Trouble, which is my comedy cooking show. Is another thing I was doing that was funny, and I'm doing season 3 too. Like, so I'm doing that as to be funny, but I'm talking about trauma.
Right. Right.
It's all a trick. I'm such a trickster.
Yeah. It's how
Really
you
am.
get the message to some people. It's how you get the message to some people.
And every once in a while, I'll just turn to the camera and remember, stop raping kids. Go fuck yourself. And now I can add a button. Click here. I'll show you how. But I I feel like it's in the, like being in the middle of a seesaw, because
Yeah,
it's
trying
like
to find the balance.
yeah, the devil shows up at your front door for real, and then all of a sudden there's amazing, beautiful things happening, and you know, you're horseback riding and galloping across fields with this woman who escaped 19 years of trauma.
Right.
Like, so it's like, wow, amazing and holy fuck, amazing and holy fuck, amazing and holy fuck. So, oh my God. Huh. And I'm raising a child who's, you know, trying to learn new math. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. That she's taught me a tremendous amount, being a mom to a creative genius.
Right.
And she's so free with her body, and she's such a dancer, and she never wears clothes. Like, that child is like, she's like, no, I'm not wearing clothes. Why would I do that? And that I don't get triggered by any of that stuff. I did years and years ago. That's actually what threw me into therapy when I was like 21 again, was I was around little kids and they were like, look at my Jana. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to call someone. I need to call a therapist. But watching her, how free she is, and seeing like, okay, here's this free little kid who's just beautiful. She's a beautiful child, gets in these dance moves, and she's doing it like completely innocently. And if there was a perp, could totally take advantage of that.
Right.
You know? So I'm
Right.
like, that again is like, huh. And I will never ever say like, don't do that. You know? I'm like, no, be free with your body. I am teaching her how to look after herself and how to
Right.
be, I mean, good luck anybody trying. I mean, that kid is loud. You know what I mean? She's like, fuck off. She is my kid. But it's amazing, like being a parent too, and knowing the realities.
Right.
And it's terrifying. And it's like, oh God, do you stay terrified and locked away? Don't talk to anybody. Don't do anything. Or is it completely free? That in itself is a
Seesaw. Right.
balance. And also healing for me to, like, you know, you have to be like, shut up. Like, zip it. You know, because I was raised in a household of like, you know, you're singing, you're dancing, shut up, sit down, you know.
Yep. It's about preparing her and encouraging her to use her own sense of self-preservation, because that's what gets shut down too much for people, and that's why we become victims later in life, because you know we generally have a red flag waving when we're in danger, And we've been taught, particularly women have been taught to like, put a lid on that, to discount it, to ignore it. And that's how we get into the kind of trouble we get into sometimes. Not always, because sometimes you just can't stop a perp, but sometimes we ignore signs that give us a sense that we ought to get out of wherever we are. We ought to get away from whoever we're with. And we've been taught not to think about that. So I think kids, both boys and girls, shut that down. And it makes them vulnerable in ways that are not helpful. So I suspect you're probably reinforcing that sense in her, and
Oh
she'll probably be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reinforced. Be kind, my dear.
Yes.
Be
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. This kid is wicked smart. She just tested at literally the top of her elementary school, like at the top, like with the 6th graders. Like, I'm like, holy shit.
Yep.
They
So
called me
it'll
that,
be a
like,
challenge.
I'm like, oh my God, I knew that was gonna happen. Saw that one coming. Yeah, so that's like, oh boy. So, and also reaching the kids, by the way, goes back to shine through, because they all love Patrick.
Yep. Yep.
So it's a good way to reach kids. So yeah, like I love having this conversation with you. And it's also like, how do we use these tools to bring up more? And also, I don't want to tell, but you and I have a project.
Yep.
I've been writing that. I can't wait to share the next phase in January.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I hope I can.
That's a smart thing. I'm call in all the texts, I call it the Rita Smith project.
Well,
if
we can make it happen, it will shift
oh
something.
no, we're gonna make that happen. That's gonna happen. I'm like,
right.
Yeah, because I mean, why not?
Why not? Why not? Yep.
Why not? Why not do it? I mean, it's like that's also that. Like I can like wrap it up with like of leaving it with why not, because talking to myself of like, okay, well, the world is to shit. It's too daunting. Human trafficking is an actual product line. Good luck with addressing that, because they're making so much damn money. Both sides. Has nothing to do with colors. And what do? I'm just going to lay in traffic. But what if what you're doing like actually helped? And what if we all did rise collectively and rise at the same level? And what if there was a huge shift? And what if all these motherfuckers start dying? Oh wait, they are. I mean, it is true. Like a lot of the old guard are old. I mean, that is true. And so you need to deal with their kids and that are fucked up, and so, which is a healing opportunity,
Absolutely.
There's a lot of those perps that I think you'll agree that you're like, I don't know I don't know about the healing that far gone. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, some people might disagree, like there's always a room. I'm like, well, if they're kept away from access to humans, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. That's a whole other conversation. But I like the fact that domestic shelters also addresses helping abusers not abuse.
Right.
Like I like that. Like it's, I don't believe that it's this whole like line in the sand, because even, side note, even researching all the healthy sex stuff and and then also interviewing people about their real sex lives and what's happening for real, the more fundamental these groups are, the communities are, the more like uptight, like super, dare I say super Christian, the more deviant. Like I'm talking, those are the communities that have the dungeons in their basements, like for real, like legit. And that's the ones that are doing some like crazy stuff. And I'm like the honest one. I'm like, if y'all only talk to each other, if you only had a conversation,
Right.
Like that you want to do this and she wants to do this, and it's a little weird, but maybe not. Hey, if everyone had some tags on them, like we were totally tagged, you're into this and you're into this, and you can go do that because you know what, that guy over there, he's really into that, and you guys should meet. Don't rape each other. Don't force somebody who's not into that, because there's somebody over there that's really into that. So I'm like, it's like I feel like if we nerd it out, like if we need to super nerd out and tag everybody on a deep dark level, I'm like, wow. And a lot of these guys, because you know me, I've got that gene where everybody tells me their deepest darkest secrets, and I'm like, you can't even believe, or maybe you can, the things I have learned from men. Like it's amazing to me. It's not the rule, but two shockers. One is these like 20-year-old to 30s that are the party boys, the cute little boys, the rock star boys. They want to be held.
Mm-hmm.
And they want affection, and they're not getting it from the girls in their 20s, because the girls in the 20s like aren't feeling anything. And then there's these super high powered like executive CEOs, like assholes, like in the room, in the conference room, they're like the scary ones that are turning over tables and shit, and they want to get pegged, aka by the woman wearing a strap on. And I'm like like, wow. But it just made me like, hey ladies, next time you're around a real jackass that kind of terrifies you just a little bit, just let me just, and then you may say, hey, did you need something? Because I'm like, the things I am learning, Rita, that I'm like, holy cow. And it usually goes all back to trauma.
Yeah, I bet it does. I bet it
It all
does.
goes back to trauma. Like these BDSM and stuff. And like I was talking to one guy who he has a whole trauma childhood, and he wanted to, I'm just talking, just full disclosure. He wanted to be essentially beaten like he was when he was a child, to the point of crying, and then be held and like have a healing moment. I'm like, wow, wow, wow. So that's what I'm doing in my spare time, having these crazy conversations about sex. And I'm like, holy cow, wow. Fascinating. And it all leads to trauma.
Yeah, a lot of it starts there, doesn't it?
Yeah. And these men, the cutie pies in their 20s that you're just like, oh my God, they're so cute, or they're so cocky, they're little rock stars. The ones that I've talked to that want affection had terrible mothers, usually abusive. And I'm like, wow. Like, it's just, again, like, you can't get away from it.
It
So
seems
it's
to
like,
be circling around you, Angela Shelton.
yeah, hey, no fair. I think it's life. I think it's like when you're having honest conversations, it's gonna come up, and
Right.
it's
Well,
just life. And it's
you
like,
open doors. You open doors, and newsflash, people are going to walk through it. So
newsflash, no shit. And also, like with me, I'm like, I joke all the time, but it's totally true. I'm like, when you do that and you're super honest, and like I joke, I'm like, well, it's hard to get laid when you make an incest movie. Because like, no, it's not me. Like it's like me like talking to people, and then they like, they're crying, and I'm like sometimes like holding them at a dinner party, and it's like, man, I'm not getting lucky.
this isn't going anywhere.
This is like, I can link you with a good therapist. It's so funny. Oh my God. So yeah, I'm like, well, there's another. Glad I could help. Happy just doing my service work over here. Okay.
Yeah, didn't think I was working tonight. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody meet my boyfriend, send him on over. Yeah, good luck with that. Could you imagine? Yeah, my profile would be like, holy shit, wait, what? And then she does what? Oh yeah. Oh well, we need to go on a retreat, a dance party retreat,
There you go. I'm in. Tell me
and
where.
shine light. Well, I love you, Rita.
I love you, Angela Shelton.
I
We're-
appreciate. I miss you. I want to come to Denver.
Okay, get on over here. Get on over. We can do some stuff here. We can.
Oh God, just the state of things.
Yes.
Oh my God. Cut to truth. All right. I love you. Bye.
Bye.